Pleasure to introduce Charlie Ench, this year's Yerlof Award medalist. Charlie's first major exposure to light in the oceans came while serving as in the U.S. Navy as a firefighting instructor and salvage diver. After the Navy, Charlie returned to attend the University of Louisville in his home state of Kentucky, from which he graduated in 1950. Charlie followed this with graduate studies on barnacles and light at the Florida State University, where he earned a master's in 1953. In 1956, Charlie left his PhD program at the University of Washington to become a research associate at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution at the invitation of Francis Richards. At Woods Hole, he began his seminal work with phytoplankton pigments. In these early years at Woods Hole, Charlie collaborated with other luminaries in the field, John Ryther, Dave Menzel, Sean Steele, among others. His first paper on the influence of phytoplankton pigments on the color of seawater, published in 1960, in Deep Sea Research, spurred development of the field of ocean color remote sensing. Together with others in the Small Nimbus Experiment Team, NET, Charlie promoted the use of satellite-borne sensors for studying the oceans. At the time, the concept of using ocean color for studying phytoplankton was thought to be crazy by the oceanography community. The efforts of this group culminated in the launch of the Coastal Zone Color Scanner, CZCS, above the Nimbus satellite in 1978. Although tape recording capacity and the small number of receiving stations limited CZCS data acquisition to 2 hours a day, Charlie, along with Roz Austin, convinced NASA to devote a significant amount of the recording time to record data beyond the coast, and thus obtaining a global set of phytoplankton abundance. The success of this effort undoubtedly led NASA approval for flight of the advanced colored sensors CWIFs and MODIS. In addition to contributing to the advancement of ocean color work over the next 2 decades, Charlie also advocated for other areas of space-based oceanography, including visible light photography on the Apollo-Soyuz mission and later on the U.S. Space Shuttle program. He also was a staunch advocate for the remote sensing of sea surface temperature and sea level altimetry. Meanwhile, Charlie was involved with research in the lab and on ships, with seminal publications on phytoplankton photoadaptation, the PR ratio, and critical mixing depth, thus integrating the effects of biology, physics, and light on oceanic production. Charlie's interest on the scale of entire ocean basins preceded much of the current attention to global scale phenomena. In recent years, Charlie's interests have moved into the tropical coastal zone, where he's engaged in studying the optics and physiology and productivity of coral reefs. Our current view of how light interacts with phytoplankton certainly owes much to Charlie's numerous and varied contributions. Beginning with his first publication in 1955 in Science with Pearce, Charlie averaged more than 3 published papers a year for the next 40 years. His classic paper with Dave Menzel on the fluorometric method for measuring chlorophyll A in veil pigments was the most cited biological oceanography paper in the 20 years following its production. Another classic paper by Charlie on the use of glass fiber filters for deriving phytoplankton absorption spectra ultimately led to the quantitative filter pad technique, a technique still in common use. Charlie was involved with the formation of several oceanographic laboratories, which were inviting homes to other optical oceanographers. In 1968, Charlie left Woods Hole to join Bill Richardson in the formation and development of the Oceanographic Center at Nova University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, now Nova Southeastern University. In 1970, he returned to New England to start the Marine Laboratory at the University of Massachusetts, Gloucester, which is now part of the UMass School of Marine Sciences. A state moratorium on hiring in 1974 prompted Charlie to move lab personnel, equipment, and a small research vessel to Maine and start the Bigelow Laboratory for Ocean Sciences. With Charlie's guidance and inspiration, Bigelow became a welcoming home or a visiting spot for many in the optical oceanography community. At a time when some other oceanographic institutes were not sure what to make of ocean optics, Bigelow became a location where during summers, leaders in ocean optics and biooptics fields such as Andre Morel, Dale Kiefer, Howard Gordon, Gunnar Kuhlenberg, Ray Smith, and others could be found. Charlie was also a critical influence in the early careers of other optical oceanographers such as Rick Spinrad and Steve Ackelson and others, inviting them to be members of the Bigelow community. Optics was a central topic at the lab, which made it a fitting home to many of us. In summary, the impact of Charlie Ench's research, innovation, and thoughts on the community of biooptical scientists and more generally oceanographers has been and continues to be exceptional and prominent. On behalf of the President of the Oceanography Society, I would like to present Charlie Ensch with the Yerloff Award, sponsored by the Office of Naval Research and NASA, in recognition for outstanding achievement in scientific research, education, and community service in the pursuit of fundamental knowledge about the interaction of light with the ocean.
Thank you very much, Ken.
And we also have a certificate for Charlie. And it says that awarded in recognition of the contributions made in the advancement of our knowledge of nature and consequences of light in the ocean, bestowed upon Charlie Ensch in September 2010 for his enduring and pioneering contributions in the field of biooptics, in particular to the application of ocean color remote sensing, in addition for his founding of new oceanographic institutions, nurturing future leaders in the field, and providing a vibrant research environment for the study of biooptics. So you have a certificate.
Thank you.
And there's also a nice lapel pin.
Oh. Here in Key West, I wear them all the time.
I bet so. And a nice little check for you.
Whoa! Hey.
Okay.
Good. Thank you again, Ken.